This one is for a different project, but in the meantime, we're getting a paramotor in a week or so.
Yep.
And we realized that we don't know much about the whole process of getting a new paramotor.
Me particularly, but yeah, we don't know anything about paramotors, do we?
We know how to fly them. But yeah, we thought this might be a useful conversation to have on camera. You were saying like...
We started this conversation off camera and then thought, oh, we'll switch camera on in case it's useful to anybody else. But so, we're getting a paramotor next week, but which bit of the paramotor... Like, we're getting a Limitless Paramotor.
Yes. There's no limit. There's no limits.
Limitless is the frame, right?
Well, Limitless is the whole brand, but you're right. Sometimes there's certain components, like the motor is from one company, the propeller is from another company. The question you had, I think it was something like what? Do you get the whole thing?
Yeah.
Do you get parts of it?
What is the design of Limitless? Have they designed a frame? Have they designed an engine and a frame? Have they designed an engine, props and a frame? Or have they designed the entire thing and it comes with a harness?
I think most paramotor companies like Limitless, Liberty, PAP, Parajet, all of those, the main thing they do is the frame and the integration with the various systems, because the frame has to be the right size for the propeller, because otherwise the propeller will stick out. Or some of them do their own throttle, like for instance, I think Vitarazi do their own throttle, but you can also get throttle from someone else, or we could 3D print a throttle and use it ourselves. So there's various degrees of customability. The minimum stuff,
but everything usually comes as one, right? You don't have to like order your engine from one guy and your frame from another and your props from another.
You can, but most people, especially for their first paramotor, they don't do that.
Yeah, okay.
You get like a off-the-shelf unit. Like there's a couple of things you can choose, like which motor you want and whatever. But like the person or the company that sells you the frame will often have stock of the things you need and put it together for you. And when they send it to you, you just do some very minimal assembly and that's it. The whole thing works.
From like a design perspective, it's a lot of different ideas coming together, isn't it? Because I was just thinking like you can't obviously, I won't be able to put my paragliding harness, just whack it on a paramotor. It has to be specifically designed for that. Yeah. But the people who design harnesses aren't the same people who design frames, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I think the people that design frames, which are the paramotor brands, are not only the people that design and build the frame, but they're also the people that do all of the systems integration to make sure that the frame works with an engine. I think the Limitless, for instance, is supposed to work really well with many different engines, which is usually something, not a feature that a lot of frames have. Usually you do have a frame for this engine, or this other frame is better for this other engine. So it's the integration of it all. But basically, the minimum thing you can do, I think, is order a frame on its own, and then order a motor, and then order a prop, or whatever. But most places will go like, from biggest to smallest will be something like, I mean, let's look at the website actually, because that might be easier.
There's going to be a lot to learn, isn't there? Because
it's a whole different thing,
just the engine itself, I will have to know how it works and how to repair it if it messes up. And even like there's hang points and everything as well, isn't there?
There's lots of settings.
There's settings like that, how it attaches to the harness.
For us will make a big difference as well, because I think we quite like, I'm not sure, but I think it's just called a lower kind of hanging point, which feels more paraglidey because there's a bit of weight shift in it, rather than being really high and feels like you're just getting pulled along and you weight shift and nothing happens.
What's torque as well and all that?
There's torque, there's asymmetric arms. I don't know if they're asymmetric forward to back or up and down.
You know what I mean? Like
torque.
There's there's torque
to contend with.
To contend with or to think about and
Yeah, but let's look at Limitless here. If we go to here, it might be, there you go. So they have it nicely laid out. The frame, then the engine, then the harness, then the throttle, then the reserve. Like for instance, we have reserves already. Yeah. But if you were a first time, like just straight off paramotor school, you might need a reserve because you don't have it.
Are they always front mounted reserves on para?
No, most of them are side mounted, but you can have them front mounted as well.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously on the Limitless frame, that's kind of like
Is it weird how clueless I am?
I think it's normal. I think it's not, and that's why we thought this video might be actually quite useful to people, because I had these questions as well some months ago, and I've been like searching on different places. But I think until you have one, you're not really sure. Like,
well, as well, I think I was a bit of an imposter
foreign.
going into paragliding and didn't really know what I was doing with paragliding, and I've learnt very slowly over time, and I feel like a lot slower than most other people who it came more naturally to. This is like, it's happening all over again with paramotoring.
And once we do
but worse because there's loads more like things.
And once we do kite surfing, you'll be an imposter again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so limitless frame, that's easy. Engine. I think we'll probably do the Atom, right? But even here you can see like there's Viterazzi, but there's also Polini.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of, for instance, the people that race, often, I think Viterazzi is more like an everyday, reliable, you know, this parts all the time and all of this. And Polini is more like specific, kind of like...
Weirdly, but by the sound of them, I would have thought it would have been the other way around. Viterazzi and like Polini.
They're both Italian, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you know bikes, but like Viterazzi is more like the Honda, which is mainstream and etc. And Polini is more like the Ducati, like super fast, or Alfa Romeo, like a little bit fickle but cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I should have known.
I think all of the racing ones use Polinis, but I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of people in the comments right now going, "Oh my god, these guys are clueless." And then it looks like for. Oh, we went straight to propellers.
This is one of the last videos before our demise.
No,
hopefully
let's choose the Atomati, so that because then it only gives you the propellers.
Helix is the people who make the blades.
The propellers.
The props, yeah.
Yeah. There's this and there's E-props, but it looks like they only have...
Are E-props just for electronic ones, or is that just the name?
I thought that before. I wonder where the name for the company comes from. It will be here. We'll do our research. But yeah, it looks like...
You like it when I ask dumb questions, because...
Yes, because I have the same questions in people. Yeah. Why is it called E-props? I suppose it's called Helix because they, you know, as you go through space, it leaves like a helical thing on it. Anyway, so I don't know, 125, 130. I'm sure people will tell us. He'll be like, oh, one is for extra top end power, and the other one is for low down torque. You either compromise on the low end or on the top end, or if you're a smaller pilot, you go for 125. If you're a bigger pilot, I don't know. Then harness. Comment below how props work. So then we. By
the way, the frame. Sorry, I know that I'm going back a few steps, but the frame.
Yes.
Does it always encompass like the netting? Does that is that sold separately?
It's exactly what you see here.
And
it's exactly what you see. So this is made of titanium.
The
swing arms.
The swing arms are always incorporated. The netting's always incorporated in the frame.
This is what's incorporated,
but not the props, obviously.
Yeah. So it's the metal framework. It's made out of titanium. It's amazing, super light and very strong. Then there's the fuel tank, the netting, like you said, and the tensioning mechanism, because you can tension it and untension it. Because if you take this apart, you need to take the tension off, right? Okay. But then once it's on, you want to tension it so that it's tight.
Yeah.
And then you have the swing arms and all of these places. That back plate there is where you attach your motor to. Then these arms here is where you attach your harness to. And this pulley here is where you attach the pull start, you know, the little cord that you pull. Okay.
There's a lot of places where things could
go wrong.
Go wrong, isn't there? We really need to do our homework, don't we?
Yeah, and
I very much need to do my homework.
I think Jim said when he came to our retreat, you know, as soon as you become a paramotor, you realise you're actually becoming a two-stroke mechanic. Yeah. Which I've had little mopeds in 50cc's before, so that's very similar.
I haven't had
this is like an 80cc, so this has more power than my little moped. Anyway, that's the frame. It's everything you see there.
Yes.
And then you put your engine on it. The engine will call for a certain propeller, and then you choose the harness, and that is the main components: engine, frame, engine, propeller, harness.
Okay, and the throttle.
I wouldn't call that a major component, but yeah, that there's a lot of accessory things.
Because that seems weird. I suppose that it seems like the throttle should come attached to the engine already.
It does. Most of the time it will come built in, but you might want to choose one. But
it
is
made by someone different.
It's almost like the harness. It's a very personal thing, so people like to choose it.
Yeah.
I remember.
I should imagine the key bit that leads into it and comes out is the same. It's just more the handle that
it's
the design features change
there's a cable.
on it.
It's basically, you know, like the brakes on bikes. It's the same. It's like a metal tube, rubberized, with a cable inside.
Yeah.
And when you pull it, it pulls the cable, which pulls the throttle on the engine.
Okay.
The seat looks like, from what I've seen before in other brands as well, Dudek is one of the biggest ones that people seem to choose, so that's fine. I've had a quick look. The light to me looks really nice. And in general, we quite like lightweight wings, lightweight harnesses and stuff. So if
Did Woody Valley do one?
Huh?
That's what we've flown with for years, the Woody Valley.
I don't think so. But again, leave us down below. Who are I think Dudek and Apco are two of the main ones.
We'll be Googling that later.
Well, people will be letting us know what other harnesses options there are. And then throttle, which to me, I think is pretty cool. Because I haven't found one that I really like yet. I think when we were at Sky School learning, some of them were this Viterazzi one. I'm not a big fan.
Some of them have got like a pokey bit, and some of them are just a button, and some of them,
yeah. And then this one to me was just really bulky. The Polini one, I think this is the one we tried the most amount of times, and I quite liked it. But like this whole part here at the front is just a bit clunky. What I have found that I would really like is one that you could operate with these fingers. So kind of short and a bit further down here instead of being up here. So that you could do this and still fly with these guys.
I can't wait to look back on this video in 2 years' time. We'll be like, absolute noobs, what are you on about?
And then at this point, we've designed our own throttles and sold them and stuff. But yeah, I don't know where this off-grid aviation is. Again, sorry if I'm butchering it, but it does look really cool. And there's also...
That looks spongy.
Yeah, that looks nice. It has a little button on the end there. This is the throttle itself. It doesn't look super bulky, but there's this thing here, which looks like a tension adjustment, and there's this trigger here. So I'm going to bet that there might be a thing where you pull and then you press a button and it stays. So you don't have to squeeze up, if you're on a long cross country. And potentially this lets you adjust the tension, and as a result, kind of like how high it idles, so that if it has a tendency to die, again, I'm completely making it up here, I hope that's how it works, you can leave it a bit high, so that instead of going and then and dying mid-flight, you can just leave it a bit, and they'll always idles a little bit higher, and once you come down, you can turn it off if you want, so that you're sure it doesn't die in flight. If that's not a feature, it should be. I don't know. And you can choose left and right.
I just thought while you were talking...
Manual start. That comes with the engine.
That comes with the engine, but is there not one where you can just press a button and turn it on?
Look right here. Starter type, manual or electric. Okay. Some of these will
have... Because I hate that bit. I can never do that.
Well, I used to have the same with a kick on my little moped, and it's a knack thing. You are strong enough, especially with the Atom, you're definitely strong enough. It's a knack thing of pulling it pulling it until you find the biting point,
I remember.
And then almost like using your weight rather than your, I don't know how to explain it, but you'll after you've done it like 10 times, you'll be like, oh, I can start it every time. Yeah, with a pinky. Anyway. I think that's it.
I think that is it. I feel better about it, but I do still need to... we need to get it in our hands.
I would go for like this
look at it. I need to see everything, and I need to... once we've got our own, I will enjoy looking around it and inspecting everything.
And taking your time, setting it on this table, pointing at things.
Because I think when you do your training, you're always borrowing someone else's stuff, so you
don't
always
have ownership of it.
And and I've been definitely guilty of the guys who taught us, like expecting them to have done all the checks and making sure that everything's okay. So I'm nervous, but I'm excited to be in control of that myself.
So the one thing that's cool on here is that it looks like you can change left or right-handed, because I think we learned right-handed, but I would really like to fly left-handed for 2 reasons. One,
so you've got more control with...
One, reserve.
Yeah.
Because I like to have the reserve on the right, because all of our paragliding reserves are on the right.
Yeah, good.
So that leaves you free. And also, if you're not needing a reserve, you can do cameras, you can adjust things, you can do with this dexterous hand, rather than trying to do cameras with the left.
That'll bring back all your England
Oh yeah, gear shift on the car.
What's the word that I'm looking for?
Driving?
Muscle memory.
Muscle memory, yeah.
Yeah.
So next, might as well go to the end of this now. So actually,
that's the one we got.
This is the one we're gonna do, which is I think the 120, the 140, I think.
We'll probably need to do a video about that soon.
Yeah, and then I just wonder hardline tachometer. This is important because this is again something you're not asked, but maybe you're interested in. When you get an engine, a new engine, they do, if I'm not mistaken, they do a little bit of running on the factory, or they don't do it at all. But there's a break-in phase, which is almost like the engine is green, none of the stuff has got up to temperature yet, there might be some oil and some assembly lube still on it, and you have to break it in. If you don't
tie it to a tree or a table or...
Yeah, and the breaking in process is running it at different throttle levels with different mix of oil and petrol and gas to make sure it breaks in properly, so that once after those 2 or 3 hours of running in, you have a full potential engine. If you were to just take the engine out with normal amount of fuel and just fly it normal, you might end up with a overstressed engine or an underperforming engine if you haven't used it enough. So it's almost like stretching its legs to make sure it's like fully warmed up, fully stretched out, fully operational engine. And for that, and then after that, you have to do maintenance at regular intervals, and the better you are with your maintenance, the less accidents or mishaps you can have in the air. And for that, it's important to know once you've done 24 hours, 25 hours or 50 hours or 100 hours, and that's what a tachometer is for.
By the way, sorry, not to cut you off, but you are banging on about the tachometer. I just think even just going through this, the way that this page is laid out, how it does frame engine... How it does frame engine, prop, harness, throttle and reserve helps me understand a bit better how things are put together and what bits come as a unit and what bits come as extras.
And once we get to here and you can see the whole thing, the whole order, actually I forgot because we definitely need one of those. Once you get to here, you can see that like maybe you already have a muster that you want to put in it, so you could take this out. Or maybe you already, I don't know why I have 2 blades, but anyway, maybe you already have some things and you don't need this, or maybe you have one of those fancy quick release prop hubs or throttle or whatever. So this is fully customizable. But yeah, with this and a wing and a reserve and a helmet, you should be able to fly, and fuel.
Yeah.
Anyway, we hope on that bombshell, we hope that's been useful. Obviously, you guys are ahead of us because you've already seen our video, I'm sure, very cool video of us going to Limitless and to Liberty.
Yeah, obviously we're recording this pre-going, but by the time you're watching this, we will have our paramotor, won't we?
Maybe we already broke it in and we, check on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, big thanks to Eric, Aviator and Limitless, for this opportunity. Hope that's been useful from 2 noobs that going into paramotoring. And yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing, learn as you do, isn't it? Or learn by doing. So there's no such thing as stupid questions. So,
and hopefully there's a lot more stuff like this coming, or a lot more content where you're going to get to see us progress and hopefully become decent pilots, paramotor pilots.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, as always, thanks to all of these people on Patreon and YouTube memberships for supporting us.
Thank you.
That's super nice. What do you think of the new studio? It's nice.
Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. That always helps.
They say it doesn't help that much anymore because YouTube doesn't care about subscriptions, but we still appreciate it. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next time.
Okay, see you on the next one.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
You only have to do it once.
Metodicamente.
Right, back to work.